Hello, everybody, and unfortunately, we are back to do wrestling with COVID. We thought we were done, but I guess COVID isn't done with us yet. Boy Star and Josiah are here with me as usual, and well, we've the world has changed. Let's say that since the last time we were on, some for the good and some not so good.
So I don't remember. You have to remind me because this was in April. What the last thing that was happening? I'm pretty sure I had the vaccine. Bill had the vaccine. I don't think Josiah had it yet.
No, I did not in April.
And I know it was before WrestleMania because I was kind of debating on that. So that would be. It had to have been in March, right? Or was WrestleMania in April?
Like late March, early April.
Okay, I'm just trying to put a timetable. So since then.
Yeah.
As far as wrestling goes with me, I actually appeared on Bill's show, that wrestling show, a couple of times for some AEW specials that happened. And that's largely what I've been following. I watched a little bit of WrestleMania. I can only last 3 matches. I haven't really followed anything else. And then, obviously, since that recording, fans have come back for AEW and WWE. And, I mean, there's a lot of things that happened inside of the AEW and WWE bubble as far as, like, returns and current speculation of, you know, who's coming in. But this is probably less of a focus on any of that than it is to what's going to happen because America has slacked off on people getting vaccinations, and now I don't think we're looking at a nationwide lockdown, but we are looking at restrictions that might affect wrestling. Let's start off, though, as always, to talk about what's going on with all 3 of us personally before we get into the wrestling stuff. Josiah, up in Canada, what's been going on since late March, early April-ish for you?
Well, I got my first vaccination shot, a Pfizer shot, in late May. They opened it up to my age group in May, and basically the first day that was available for me, I got it. And then sooner thereafter, they opened it up to everyone to have their second shots as well, because they were kind of doing it in a staggered thing, like they were the first time, starting with the oldest going down to the youngest. And now it is open to everyone 12 and up. And I am fully vaccinated. My first shot was Pfizer. My second shot was Moderna, because we do mix and match in Canada with the mRNA.
That's weird. I feel that would affect things.
It actually apparently produces a stronger immune response.
Okay.
The Canada Health on it has been very, very on top of things, and they wouldn't have done that if it wasn't safe or anything like that. Basically, the mRNA vaccines functionally are interchangeable, but I mean, ideally, the situation would be that you get your one shot from one or both shots from one of them, but they're doing mix and matching in Canada because Pfizer had a delay that in one of their shipments, especially, which led to my province having a shortage of Pfizer, but an abundance of Moderna, and so that's where that happened for that. And I was fine. I had one day where I felt sick afterwards with fever and aches and cold chills. And it lasted for about 24 hours, and then I was fine. So
is it still the same wait time as from the first shot to the second shot? If it's different?
It's they recommend at that point for Moderna with the second shot, I think they recommend 3 weeks instead of 2.
Okay.
And I was right on 3 weeks anyways, or 3 or 4 weeks. So.
Okay.
I got it almost exactly a month after I got the first shot. So either way, I would have been fine with either one.
And how has Canada been taking to these shots?
So I'll start with the national scale, and then I'll talk about local for where I'm at. So the total population of Canada that has received at least one dose of the vaccine is 71% of Canada, 71.1. Of people who, or sorry, of the total population of the country, that includes kids under 12. So out of the 39 million Canadians, 71% have had at least one shot. 81% has had 12 and over has had one shot. Fully vaccinated, 59% of Canada is fully vaccinated right now. That's the total population of 12 and older. It is 68.24%. We're on track to hit 75% of the total population very soon of being fully vaccinated. It will be before the end of October. We're going to be sitting around 70% for the entire country.
Okay.
Probably. Then maybe 75. And 12 and over is probably going to be in that 80 to 85 range. And once it's approved for kids, 5 and up, we're going to see that number go significantly up. We're probably going to be hitting total population 85 to 90% by early next year, totally vaccinated. We haven't politicized the rollout here very much.
Must be nice.
It's very nice to have sane politicians. That has kept the conspiracies and that kind of thing in the fringe here. There are lots of people who still believe it because, I mean, it's not 100% vaccination rate for us, but there never would be anyways because some people can't get them. But I know people who are in the conspiracy stuff and all that, but they're fed up with none of the media talking about it in Canada, and so they believe all the media is like bought and stuff like that. And it's like, well, none of them are talking about it because it's not true, and none of the politicians are talking about it because it's not true. They're not lying. So, I mean, even our most conservative politicians, most of them are like, yeah, go get the vaccine. It's going to protect you. It's going to protect the country. Do what you need to do for your community. And that has been incredibly encouraging. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, just the kind of transition is I want to see, even though people are getting vaccinated up there, how is the new Delta variant affecting Canada?
And that's a very good question. So I'll go local with my province first.
Sure, please.
And I'll tell you the vaccination rate for here, and then I'll go back to national for how Delta is going and how we're kind of coping with it here, locally and nationally. So in my province is about it's just shy of 1 million people in the province, maybe 800,000 actually, somewhere around there. So it's a small province. The Maritimes are very small, as we've talked about before on other episodes. And my city, to put that in perspective, my city has like 120,000 people. So it's the largest concentration of people. There's 3 cities in my province, and that's where the majority of the population is. And then they're spread out into rural areas. So in the entirety of the province, 82.9% of eligible people 12 and up have been vaccinated with one shot. And we are at just shy of 70% that has their second dose of the people who are eligible. I'm looking at it breaks it down by age rate, and obviously the oldest are the ones who have the highest uptake of the vaccine. Like the 85 plus is sitting at, or 80 plus is sitting at 99.1% of the population has the vaccine. So, but the lowest is the 20 to 29 group, which isn't really surprising. That's going to be relevant for our Delta talk. At 70.9% with one dose, and 52 fully vaccinated. My age group, 30 to 39, is 72.1 and 57.3 fully vaccinated. So we're sitting at right about now 70% fully vaccinated of everyone available, which is actually a really good number. But there are concerns about Delta, and there's a reason why we're concerned about it. It's because we have a premier who's an idiot. And his idiocy, I think I've talked about this previously in previous episodes.
Well, remind what a premier is.
So the premier would be like the governor of the state. Okay. He is the guy that when we hold elections, we vote for representatives from a local election. That is, we vote for representatives in our jurisdiction, our town, our city, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And the party with the most representatives elected then form the government, and the leader of that party is the premier. On the national scale, that's how it would work with the prime minister as well, except it would be we'd have provincial representatives, and then so our government is very, very much so the of the British style. We have a British style of parliament. And so it's structured exactly the same way. It's why if you go to Australia or the UK or Canada, the governmental system is exactly the same. Mm-hmm. So the premier of the province, he's basically the top guy of the province. And he's a member of the Conservative Party. And at the start of the pandemic, he was working very well with the other parties. Because he had a minority government, which means he had enough of his members elected to form a government, but not enough to have a majority. So he had to work with the other parties to pass laws. That's what that is. So he had the most seats, but not enough to do whatever he wants. And he was very popular because of his response early on in the pandemic that kept our COVID cases low throughout the whole thing. Then he took advantage of that, called an election in the middle of the pandemic, because he said we couldn't get anything done with the other parties, which is not true. And then he got a majority government. And since then, he has been very wacky when it comes to the restrictions, and very contradictory messages being sent from him. And I can tell it was driving our health officials nuts. Mm-hmm. But if they don't really do what they're told, they'll get fired. So they kind of have to toe the party line a little bit. But in any case, they announced probably back in June that if by the start of August, a holiday we call Family Day here in or New Brunswick Day. It'd be Family Day in other parts of the country, I think.
I was going to say, what happens if you don't have a family? You just get left out?
No, you still get a day off.
You have single day.
It's a statutory holiday, so we all get it off if we're working, or we get paid double time if we're working.
Sure.
So
okay.
But yeah, it's treated like any other, like Christmas and that kind of stuff. Christmas, New Year's, statutory holidays. So, but it's New Brunswick Day, and he said if we were at 75% fully vaccinated by then, we'll remove all restrictions. We'll go back to green, and so no mask mandate and no social distancing mandate. Although they do recommend doing it still. Mm-hmm. Well, he lied, and he removed restrictions when we were at 65% vaccinated, fully vaccinated. That was an immediate concern for the other provinces in Atlantic Canada, who basically then said, well, we're shutting down our borders to you now. Mm-hmm. And so there was a bit of a conflict with Nova Scotia in that regard. And it doesn't help. He's a conservative, and the Nova Scotia premier is a liberal. So there's probably some party politics happening there. And anyways, what all of us wanted, everyone in Atlantic Canada, like the average citizen agreed, what we wanted back was our Atlantic bubble, which is we can travel between the 4 Atlantic provinces and we keep the rest of Canada out. Right. Just have free travel between that and the United States out. Just okay. Because if we're all sitting around 75% vaccinated, we had that the first summer of the pandemic, Atlantic Canada, Newfoundland, Prince Edward Island, New Brunswick, and Nova Scotia, we were allowed to free travel with no restrictions between the 4 provinces, because I mean, we still had to wear masks and stuff, but just no isolation restrictions. Because the COVID rate was, 5 cases here and there between like 4 provinces.
Right.
And then New Brunswick announced they were lifting restrictions, opening up the borders to the rest of Canada, and opening up the borders to Americans who were fully vaccinated. Which kind of went against partly what the federal government was saying, so they had to delay it until the federal government decided to do it. But Nova Scotia did not like this, and they said, well, we should just be open to us, and we just want our Atlantic bubble. And anyways, there was some negotiations. Now there's still isolation rules in place, but the borders between Nova Scotia and New Brunswick are open again. But that's the state of things where we were as of August 4th, and we have seen an uptick in cases since then. And we are the worst in Atlantic Canada right now. And it is not a surprise. I saw it coming. Like,
right.
Anyone could have told you this was going to happen as soon as we opened up to the rest of Canada. And Nova Scotia still has isolation rules. If you travel into Nova Scotia, you still need to self-isolate for 14 weeks. And they still have restrictions. They're not in the green phase. Wait,
self-isolation for 14 weeks or 14 days?
Sorry, 14 days. 14
I was going to say, 14 weeks is a long time. Who has that many days off?
My apologies. That was a misspeaking on my part. I meant 2 weeks, 14 days.
Right. That's what I thought.
Anyways, so so Nova Scotia has, I think, like 8 cases right now. Which is fine, and they still have the restrictions up because if they keep them up, they're going to have virtually no cases. And New Brunswick has seen that uptick, and we're over 100 cases now in our province. So not an extreme amount, but we're seeing every day now it's coming in exposure alert at this place, and we haven't, and these are cases before August 4th for the most of them. So we're going to see a lot more by the end of the month, because it takes that 2 weeks. So there is a very real possibility we're going to hit 200, 300, 400 cases in the next month. And based on the way it's going, and it is starting to show up in the vaccinated.
Right.
So
breakthrough cases, I believe they're called, right?
Yes, and all of them are very mild. Because
I didn't know that I think as of right now in the United States, we're recording this on 7:53 p.m. on August 10th. I don't believe there are actually any deaths in the United States from a breakthrough.
Yeah, I think there might be one in Canada.
One in Canada. Okay.
The entire country. Entire country. And whenever there's a breakthrough case, almost every single time it is extremely mild.
Right.
Because the vaccination, what happens with the majority of people, because I did study the science on this, the majority of people, when they get vaccinated, will not even get infected. That's the majority. It's like 90%, or with the Delta, it's like 88%. So that's the majority of people. You wouldn't even get infected.
Right.
And the other 12% will have a very mild or asymptomatic infection, to the point of where it's just like a cold, and you're not going to have any lasting effects from it in most cases.
Yeah.
And so to the people saying, oh, well, the vaccine doesn't work. Oh, pal! Sorry, I had to do this. No, the vaccine absolutely works. It's doing exactly what it should. No vaccine is 100%, but if you do happen to get infected with whatever you're vaccinated against, it will be incredibly mild comparatively. Right. And that's why vaccines save lives. So that's what's starting to happen here. And the majority of the cases, of course, are in the unvaccinated.
Yeah.
But that is going to lead to potential mutations, and we don't need that.
Of course, yeah. So that's...
So that's my province. Ontario, Alberta has no restrictions. at all, and they haven't had restrictions since like June. So you can imagine what Alberta's like right now. And Manitoba is not doing incredibly well. And so I'm actually going to look at the number of infections in the last 2 weeks. Let me bring it up here from the government website. Not total cases, cases in the last 14 days. So New Brunswick in the last 2 weeks have had 63 cases. We have more than 100 active. Nova Scotia had 24. PEI had 4. PEI still has the strictest regulation of any of the maritime provinces, and that's why they have 4. Quebec has 2,000. Ontario has 2,500. Alberta has 2,700 at the most, and British Columbia has 2,800 reported in the last 2 weeks, which is very small numbers compared to what you're seeing in the U.S.
Of
but
course, yeah.
because we take it so seriously, we look at like more than 100 cases as a big deal. So, because we understand that one or just a few people with this going out is going to cause major problems long term.
Yeah.
And cases in Alberta are ticking up, and British Columbia had a huge outbreak in the Vancouver area as well. So those are all Delta. Quebec, Ontario, Alberta, and British Columbia are the 4 worst, and the 4 highest populated provinces. Well, Ontario, Quebec, and British Columbia, anyways. Alberta's like the south of the. It's like the deep south of Canada. That's the best way to explain them. They're
sure. All right, so let's move though a little bit to the United States here for a second. And Bill, let's go with you. I don't think actually of the 3 of us, you probably have the least amount of activity in your area.
Yeah, we do. We originally had the restrictions lifted July the 1st. So that means, if you have your if you've had your vaccines, you don't have to wear a mask inside or outside.
Right. That was the standard, I think, around here.
I mean,
and you had you had both shots.
Yeah, I've had both my shots, doing wonders. So, it hasn't been until recently where some areas, like the cases have gone up. My county still has the highest number of cases in the entire state.
Good job.
Yep, thank you. However, there are some that are lower, like, if you go towards the mountains or if you go closer towards like Chesapeake Bay and the Atlantic Ocean. So, the governor has not done anything yet as far as saying, everyone's got to put masks back on. However, a lot of the school districts have said that even if you've had your shots, everybody has to wear a mask in schools.
Right, because that's a call for the school districts themselves and local government,
it is.
Which is currently being challenged in Florida with DeSantis
and Texas.
And did the Texas governor actually say that he's making? I know Florida did. I didn't know Texas did the same declarations as Florida.
They did.
Okay.
But Dallas and Austin have refused and are.
That's right. There's a big fight
mandates.
there. You're right. When you said Dallas, that just rang a bell. So go ahead, Bill. Continue.
Meanwhile, cases in D.C. and Virginia have gone up, especially Northern Virginia. And I was in D.C. last week, and their rule as of this moment is if you are indoors, you have to wear a mask. If you're outdoors, you're fine. You don't have to wear a mask.
Right.
I went to the Washington Nationals game on this past Wednesday, and their ruling was...
Were there any racial slurs thrown in the Washington Nationals game?
No.
Okay, just want to check. Because with all this controversy in baseball as of late with this.
Over a freaking mask. Anyway, that's another story for another day. If you've had your shots, you do not need to wear a mask. If you have not taken your shots, you have to wear your mask. However, from what I saw, not a lot of people were wearing masks.
Right.
Then,
well, the other problem is like no one is actually like enforcing it either.
Right.
That's the other thing is like if you're going to this place with a massive amount of people, no one is even saying just out of just in chance, hey, can I see your vaccination card? I wonder if that would also help things if like just places randomly did that. Like, hey, let me see your vaccination card or proof of vaccination.
Well, I mean, I've heard several times that you could either, show them the card, like physically, or if you take pictures of your card, the front and the back, they'll accept it.
The back? Is there anything even on the back for the United States cards I'm talking about?
I don't.
I feel like everything, or maybe it's a New Jersey vaccination card. So maybe there's nothing in the back. I don't know.
So then, this past Saturday, I went to a comedy show in Virginia.
Look at you! You're bouncing all over the place. All right, baseball game, comedy. You're spreading out.
And now I went into Northern Virginia, and that's been like a really hotbed as of late, or at least I think it's been like certain areas. I don't think where we was considered a hotbed, but I did notice it was about 50-50 on the masks. Like some people had the masks, some wore them, others didn't. My friend and I, we were kind of going on and off with it. Like, I mean, we kept it around our face, at the worst. Like, we never completely took it off, except to eat. But yeah, I mean, Maryland, as far as saying everyone's got to wear masks again, has not really, enforced that. So
certain places, though, businesses are, because my sister lives in Maryland as well.
Yes.
And I know that she works at a law firm, and I sent her a message to say happy birthday a few days ago. And she had said, oh, we need to catch up. Sorry, I've been so busy because my company put on the mask mandate, and now I have to police my staff to see who's wearing them or not. So I do know there are certain places that are doing it.
I mean, there are like some businesses and again some counties that are doing it, but it's it depends on where you live basically. Yeah. So
okay, so and then as for me, living in New Jersey and working in New York, I actually went to Disney and Universal a few weeks ago, right before everything hit the fan. Actually, it's so funny because I went there and
that's where you were sending me pictures from.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
So check this out. So I went there. This was literally a 2 or 3 week planning. This wasn't like, oh, I planned this 6 months ago or a year ago. This was 3 weeks beforehand. I decided to make the trip, and I was like, I had heard a little at the time in early July or late May or late June. There were like rumblings overseas about the Delta variant. So I was like, you know what? While I'm able to do this, let me go out there and do it now. And the big debate was, do I go on July 24th or do I go on on August 1st for the week? I went July 24th and spent some days at the theme parks. On Tuesday, so that would be the 27th, started ramping up in the news about the Delta variant. By Thursday, they decided that in Disney, one of the places I was going, they were going to do a mask mandate coming back to Disney. And I'm like, boy, I planned this right at the right time because Thursday was my last theme park, and then Friday the mask mandate was going to be implemented. I was like, I made this just in time. FYI, I got back on that Saturday, and then Sunday morning, I did take a COVID test, and both of them. There's like one that's a rapid test that you get in like an hour, and then there's the PCR test, I believe it's called, where that gets back to you in like 5 days. I'm guessing that's more accurate. And luckily, negative on both ends. And I think I did it more for, of course, myself, but like more for like, hey, I want to make sure that I'm not infected. I don't want to be responsible for breakthrough cases.
Right.
I guess is what I'm saying. Now, as far as the unvaccinated, I might say I care a little bit less about them as far as that situation goes. But here in New York, we've had some big changes in the last like 24 hours. Well, I guess first we'll start off with the fact that, and I applaud this wholeheartedly, Mayor de Blasio in New York City has announced I don't remember the exact name, but it's like a key to the city pass, where most bars or bars and restaurants in New York City specifically are going to require you to show your vaccination cards.
Okay.
Which is great. I'm like, good. We need to stop having the unvaccinated think that they can do everything the vaccinated people can do. So that's my opinion, at least. So that's a thing starting September 1st. However, and this is what worries me a little bit, literally earlier today, Governor Cuomo resigned from office. There's been some sexual allegations or somewhat going on with him. And, I guess he decided to step down in a period of 14 days. So 14 days from today, he'll no longer be the governor of New York, of New York. And the lieutenant governor, who her name escapes me, the last name begins with an H, will be taking over. This is an administrative switch that I don't think is great to come at this moment, but we'll see. So I'm a little leery about that and seeing if she tries to change different policies that he has, or I don't think he could do anything about de Blasio's thing because that's a New York City specific thing, but I don't know. I have no idea, but I hope we stay on track with getting this key to whatever it's called, the key, whatever he's calling it, where bars and restaurants have to require a vaccine card basically upon entry. And for those that have a problem, hey, guess what? We're required to show that you're over 21 years old or anyway. This is just another thing. And I don't understand the people that are so against this. I mean, they're obviously unvaccinated people for the most part, although I have heard one vaccinated person complain about it, at least.
Is she the same party as him?
Wait, who?
The lieutenant governor.
Oh, sorry, it's a she.
Yeah, I said she. Sorry.
Oh, did you? I'm sorry. I thought you said he. I think so, but that doesn't mean they can't adapt or adjust the policy. Because my thinking is this: is she's going to take over in 14 days, and she said she's taking over until he's up for re-election next year, or when the next election would be next year. Now, I have a feeling she's going to want to kind of have both parties be happy because she'll make the run for the next year's election.
Right. That makes sense.
I think that's mainly why I'm worried. But again, de Blasio's New York City specifically mayor. I maybe that is something that can be done with just the local government. I don't know. So anyway, yeah, so that's the big stories going around here is, I mean, yeah, I'll be honest with you, even though it's not ideal, I wound up canceling an upcoming show that I was going to because it's not the same to me. Like, I'm hoping I love the fact that, like, we were able to go to different places without a mask. Having a mask on for events is kind of a bummer to me. I do have confirmation that she is a Democrat, so Cuomo is also a Democrat as well. So I don't know. We're going to see. My Broadway shows apparently are going to revisit the mask policy. Her name is Kathleen Hochul, Hochul. Are going to revisit the mask policy on October 31st of this year to see what they're going to do going forward. I expect a lot of businesses are going to do that, but I hope it just goes back to where just card everyone and then let vaccinated people go without the mask, and then unvaccinated people don't go. That's my opinion on it.
That makes sense.
Because the thing is, with all this bullshit of we're gonna do a lottery, we're gonna do what in New Jersey, one of the things was if you get vaccinated here, you'll get a whole summer long at this club that's down south, like free entry for I think ever actually.
Forever?
That's not what's gonna make people go and get vaccinated. You have to take things away from them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I think Joe Biden the other week, and Jim, you can, but actually Jim and Josiah, maybe you guys can correct me if I'm wrong on this.
Sure.
I think like one of the incentives that he had an idea for was like, oh, if you take this, we'll give you $100.
Yeah, I mean, there's lotteries all over the place. And I'm just like, no, just tell people that they need a vaccine card to go into a restaurant. And yes, I have read online there are fake vaccine cards being made. But guess what? There are fake driver's licenses being made all the time. Mm-hmm. Does that stop people from carding?
Nope.
And it will be a minority that get access to them anyways.
Also, I heard they're $400, so have fun paying that. I mean...
if you ever think, if anyone out there is listening and thinking of getting one of those fake ones and traveling to Canada because you're fully vaccinated in quotation marks, don't, because if you get caught, which someone was, you'll be facing prison time and $750,000 fine.
We will find you, and we will get you.
And the people that tried it, they up to that anyways. They ended up finding $20,000 each. And then were arrested for breaking the self-isolation protocols. So they're in significant legal trouble and will likely be shipping them back to the United States, but they could face prison time in Canada for it. So we are not messing around with this thing.
Good.
So
Good for you guys. Whereas DeSantis is just like, do whatever the fuck you want. Now, look, here's the thing with Florida. It's like, obviously I was down there, and I'll say this. There were definitely like a half and half mask thing, and which was surprising to me because, as I had thought, I was like going down there, oh, this is going to be like the Wild West. No one's going to wear masks. And to be fair, when I actually entered Florida on that Saturday, there wasn't this major talk. It wasn't until Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday that shit really hit the fan. Mm-hmm. As far as I go, like, the only time that I wore a mask down there, and I guess I don't know if either of you have gone to the parks lately, but I'm going to use the examples in Universal, it's Shrek 4D, and in Disney, it's Muppet Vision 3D. What they do is before they put you into a theater, they kind of have you all gather in one room because they're counting how many people as you wait for the previous show to end. That was kind of where the most I put my mask on. Because I'm okay with people standing, like one or two people standing in front and standing in back of me. I'm not as okay being in an enclosed room with like approximately 100 people walking around in a small area. When I got to the theater, granted, I took it off again because now I'm back in my comfort zone of like, oh, there's only 3 people in front, 1 person in the front, 2 people on the side, left and right. But some people wore them the whole time. So I'm like, whatever, you do what you want. But oh God, it was like 95 degrees there. My glasses were fogging up and everything. So like, even if I wanted to, I don't know how much I would have been able to bear it. But it was more than I thought, is my point. I actually thought it was going to be like 90% no mask, 10% mask.
Since the restrictions were removed here, we're probably around 50-50 with that. I still wear mine, not because it protects me, but just in case I get infected and spread it asymptomatically, because that's why you wear the mask. It does offer some protection to you, but it's more about protecting others, and that's why I still wear mine. I in the next few weeks, I wouldn't be surprised if a mask mandate comes back.
Right.
Because I talked about the cases that were going up and all that kind of stuff. But
once they do what de Blasio did, like I said, I'm really hoping that what's going to happen is they'll do the Blasio thing on September 1st, And then within like 2 or 3 weeks, they're going to be like, actually, look, we're doing great now here in New York City. Let's keep this going until at least the end of the year. But now the vaccinated can fully have their masks off for things if they choose. Because I do think it should be a choice. I understand if people don't feel that comfortable but still want to be out. I think it's insane that people are like get on people about the mask thing, like that's just walking about. Now, to be honest with you, I would understand if like you're with someone and like, oh, I can't hear you. Can you please take that off for a little bit? And then they don't, and then you have a hard conversation with someone. But I've seen people in New York, these crazy people that are like berating other people, are like, why do you still have that on? Now that's bullshit. Like, leave them alone.
That's ridiculous.
They're not doing anything to you.
Man, I honestly think in some form now masks are not going to go away.
Oh, I get
even post COVID now, when there will be people who now, when they get sick, they're going to put on a mask so that they don't spread it to other people. And that's going to be more of a cultural thing in the West now than it is. I mean, it's already all common in Asia, the Asian continent.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing, as long as as long as you're not berating people for it. I mean, if I go out and I get the flu, it's kind of a nice thing if I put my mask on and not pass that off to other people. And that's probably going to be my approach going forward.
Sure, and because like I'll tell you right now, that's probably not going to be mine. But I mean, like, but again, I'm not going to be like, Josiah, you really should take that mask off, and I'll tell you why. And then I give you like 3 reasons why I think you should take your mask off.
And and that's fine. Like, and I'm not going to berate someone for not doing it, especially when the mask mandates are like really done. And I mean, if New York ends up doing good with that new thing that you're saying,
if it doesn't go away with this change of power, like I said, that's the thing I'm a little worried about.
Yeah, they are the same party though. She was his running mate, so.
Like I say, you are going to want to have both parties like you if you're going to try for the actual election next year.
That's true. Although I do expect she'll probably uphold his good policies, the ones that are good, anyways. But yeah, because what you're saying about taking things away to make people do it, there has been a release of statistics now of surveys done polls done among the unvaccinated and what would actually make them get vaccinated. And the biggest thing is restricting their travel.
Yeah.
And if you take away their ability to go to places, they're going to get vaccinated. And for the people who truly can't get vaccinated, we shouldn't be forcing that on them, of course.
Can I throw this on there? And I don't know what the rules are with this or whatnot. Can they be put on some kind of disability card or something?
I don't know.
I mean, I don't know if anyone has even asked this, but like that's. And by the way, I'm sorry to say that I just don't trust if someone's like, no, I can't get it because I can't medically get it. I actually more than likely do not believe you.
Yeah, and in many cases that's probably the case. I do know people personally who can't be vaccinated because they have like a really weird immune disease that doesn't let them get like it would kill them to get vaccinated.
Yeah, sure.
Because they nearly died when they were a kid from a regular vaccine. And so or they had some people coming off chemo can't get it.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, I didn't think of that.
Because their immune system is shot. And so there are valid reasons to not get it. And there are
by the way, you know what the other reason that I don't believe you usually that I don't believe that we need to get it FDA approved. I don't believe that one either.
Well, it is FDA approved anyways.
Is it? Is that because I thought that's one of the excuses?
There's 2 steps to approval. It's not an experimental vaccine. The people saying it's an experimental vaccine don't understand what they're saying. Mm-hmm. The vaccine was only experimental when it was in the trial phase. So full FDA approval means it's approved for all ages for anyone who wants it. Whereas what they're doing right now is temporary. They're staggering, the approval. So it's an emergency use authorization off an approved vaccine.
Okay.
Which is a little different.
Well, either way, even if it got like, if it's, let's say they just say that everything was, I know what you're saying, but obviously there are people that hear it differently and don't understand it. But let's say they heard it and was like, yeah, no, everything's covered now. They still won't get it. I don't believe that excuse of what they say for half the people with that one either. I know that you're saying it's not true anyway, but I'm saying some people still believe it, but I also think those people won't.
They probably wouldn't get vaccinated anyways.
It's just their excuse so that way they don't have to prove anything. So what am I gonna say? That it's not like I'm looking for your medical records or anything like that. Even those that say, I can't get it due to medical reasons. I mean, I'm always tempted to say, can I see your medical records? And of course, it's not something someone has on them right at that moment, nor should I expect them to.
Right.
It's just something very hard for me to say, for them to conveniently say, oh, I don't have the proof now. It's very easy for that. That's those two excuses.
Honestly, the people who say I can't get vaccinated for medical reasons are often the people encouraging other people to get vaccinated.
Yeah.
It's because it protects them. So the people who truly can't get vaccinated, you are going to see them be advocates for vaccines for everyone else.
That's a good point. I didn't think of it that way.
So if they're posting anti-vaxxer stuff, there's a very good chance that they don't have a medical reason. But if it's because I have spoken to people who do have medical reasons, and they say they want everyone to get vaccinated because they keep them safe. That's what herd immunity is. You can't have herd immunity without vaccination. It's a concept that started with it's existed for a while, but the conversation around it was formed around polio and smallpox. And if you vaccinate everyone who can be vaccinated, the people who can't get vaccinated are protected. That's herd immunity.
And then, of course, we have the situation with the schools here in America as well.
Yeah.
And the funny thing there, and I laugh at this, I'm like, so one of the things I keep reading is like, you can't tell us to get shots or anything, to have kids have shots or teachers to have shots. And I'm like, wait a minute, hold on a second. Don't we have that already? Like,
yes.
When you're a kid, don't you actually have to get certain shots?
You do.
Not only that, but I vaguely recall when I was a teenager that I was told that I had a wrestling shirt on that I was not allowed to wear. So they can tell me that, but they can't tell me that I need to get a shot. Like, what kind of reasoning is that?
It's completely hypocritical, and it's completely ridiculous. Like, there are some ways around mandatory vaccination for children going to school. There are some ways.
Sure, because some of them, because it is only for like 12 and older or something like that, right? Or 13 and older. For
this one, yes, and even I'm not even talking standard vaccine schedule for children. Like there are ways around that. You can cite religious reasons for not getting vaccinated, and they'll still let your kid get to school, and things like that. But which, by the way, is really dumb to me.
I think if someone
as a pastor, as a pastor, get vaccinated, damn it.
As if someone brings up the religion thing, they should automatically have like a 10-question quiz of like the basics of religion,
of their actual religion.
Yes.
They 100% should. Like, please fill in the blank. Our Lord Jesus blank.
Well, even schools here, they require your child to go through the routine medical vaccinations that they go through, like for the whooping cough, chickenpox, measles, smallpox, all those kinds of things. So, like those are all childhood vaccines.
It's just amazing. Like that's the stance that it takes. Because like, okay, here's another example. So I didn't go there because I went to Disney and Universal, but I also want to go to Bolivia, which is where I was actually born, in Bolivia in South America. In looking into Bolivia, other than the fact that obviously the 14-day quarantine thing I can't do, because who has like that many days off of work.
Right.
You would need 3 weeks because you'd need 2 weeks to quarantine and then 1 week to actually do what you want to do. Anyway, though, one of the things that it says on there that I need to get before I go into Bolivia is a shot for yellow fever.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, well, wait, so of course I have to do this because I shouldn't be able to just say, no, it's my right to go in there because I want to for no reason. Like, I just don't understand the reasoning with any of that.
Vaccine passports exist everywhere.
Right.
Because I'm acquainted with several missionaries going around the world to poor countries, there are a list of vaccines that they need to keep updated.
Yes, sir.
To even do their work. And then when they go there, they often bring vaccines with them to vaccinate people against basic diseases. A lot of people, the mission work and all that, they think it's just all preaching or something like that. 99% of it is medical care. And building wells and houses for people. And funding things like missionaries work with Doctors Without Borders all the time to bring vaccines to the most needy people in the world. And it's really appalling that we have free access to something that the rest of the world doesn't have access to right now, that many other countries don't. And basic vaccines, not just the COVID one, but other vaccines as well that save lives. And mission organizations have to buy them through fundraising and bring them to these countries instead of us helping them out to do it. And then you kind of have the audacity to refuse that when you can get it for free. Like, what does that say to the person who is literally dying to have it?
Right.
Part way, what kind of privilege is that? And it's really ungrateful. Like, we have the vaccines are miraculous. Sorry, I'm preaching a little bit, but
I mean, that's what you do.
Yeah.
Yes, it is true. It is true.
But I just wanted to chime in real quick because I did look up Bolivia's total numbers. They've had so far 478,000 total confirmed cases. 18,000 are fatal cases.
Mm. So it's like I said, I wasn't going down there.
That's Florida, yeah. Bolivia, yes. I think Florida now, they hit 100,000 cases a day.
Yeah, Florida's apparently is asking Joe Biden for 300 ventilators, something like that. So that's where they are at this point.
And I saw a scary statistic that it's like 29% of Americans right now have COVID.
See, here's the other problem. I say problem, but I mean, I'm an example of I didn't mean to do it. Florida is a very big tourist spot, obviously, with Universal and Disney. And there's some people, like, not everyone's like me and books like their trip like only 3 weeks in advance. Some people that are probably down there probably booked at least like a month in advance, at least.
If not longer.
If not longer, yeah. Probably once they got their vaccine, they were like, oh, it's April. Oh, I got to go to Disney now. When can I do it for the best price? Oh, in 3 months from now? Cool. But that's the whole thing, is that's why like it's getting spread from Florida, because we had all these plans. We thought that we were, in a way, a lot of us, and myself is included, that we basically were not done, but we went over the biggest hurdle.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I say it's not their fault, because, like, again, with me, like, I didn't know that it was going to be like that week that I went was when they were like mask mandate starting on Friday. I don't know, and I don't know what the policy is if they can, because I know if it was me, and like if I want to go in the week after, I would have been like, hey, this isn't what I signed up for. I didn't sign up to be in a mask the whole time. I would like a refund back. I don't know how flexible these places are with that. So then it's just a matter of, well, I gotta go no matter what now, and fuck it, I'm gonna have a great time.
That could be the case too, and that's gonna end badly for a lot of them.
And that, I would blame that on the I don't know who you blame it on, because I guess you can't. I'm gonna say you blame it on the people that weren't on that wouldn't give the person the refund. But they didn't know anything either, though. See, that's the whole thing. And I think in some ways it is like, I know people are blaming the CDC for it, and I feel like maybe they were holding some information that they should have been more clear with. I don't know.
Yeah,
there's a lot of blame to go around with a lot of different things here. I don't know if there are certain places that, yeah, for sure, you should take part of the blame, but like there's a lot there's a lot that's like, you're part of the blame, but I don't know if it's really truly your fault.
I think the true biggest thing is inconsistent messaging.
Yes.
And from governments and companies and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
And I looking at, for example, like the U.S. government is, for lack of a better term, between the states individually, it's just a disaster when it comes to the responses to this thing.
Yeah.
Whereas you can look at Canada, we're all very unified in that, even with the little hiccups we had with Higgs and the Premier of Nova Scotia. It's like there's I mean, we still came to an understanding, and we're not politicizing this thing, and anyways, all that point saying, really in the end, people are going to be left in positions where they don't know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
And because no one is giving them a consistent message of what to do. And I don't really blame the people. I do kind of blame the companies a little bit, because we're in a pandemic, and so you have to be able to expect cancellations due to COVID.
Yes.
And you probably should refund that. But capitalism dictates that you don't have to do that, because the weird. But and it happens in Canada too. I think Air Canada still hasn't refunded flights from 2020.
So, just kind of piggybacking off of that, here's an interesting situation. So I already booked a cruise in December for Royal Caribbean, and I'm hoping if this doesn't get better, I can just refund, because it was very clear from Royal Caribbean, and I remember because I asked them like 3 or 4 times about it. I was like, what's the policy for vaccinated versus unvaccinated people? And their stance to me was, if you're vaccinated, you can do everything. You don't have to wear a mask. However, if you're unvaccinated, then you're limited to things you can do. For example, you can't go into the nightclub. They've got a whole list of stuff. And I know that they can enforce it, because have either of you two been on a cruise before or no?
No, I haven't. Although
okay, so what they do is you don't really use a credit card on there. They basically give you a key, and your key is your card, just like how to get into your room and everything like that. Like, you pay for everything that you would need to through that. Mm-hmm. So basically what would happen is I'm assuming, like at the nightclub, for example, they'll scan my card and it'll either go green or red, depending on if I'm vaccinated or not.
That's actually really cool.
I love that. I'm like, so that's why I said to Royal Caribbean, I'm like, yes, I'll sign up now. The thing I didn't want to do was I was drinking, and I accidentally put pay in full when I just wanted to do a deposit. And I was like, but it's a good price, and I don't want to wreck it. I don't want anyone to figure it out. Okay, fine. I'll just keep it. And then, of course, when the Disney trip came up, I had to pay that right away, because it's only 3 weeks away. I'm like, God damn, now I'm really suffering. So anyway, my point is this, is if this stays the way it is into November, I better get a fucking refund fully, because it's literally not what I signed up for.
At that point, the company might just mandate only vaccinated people can go on the trip.
Great, do that. That would be wonderful. I would love that. Just like how in like places like Madison Square Garden, I think you could only have vaccinated people in there.
Yes. And that's
maybe
smart.
This is when we should transition to wrestling, because we've been just talking about our own bullshit for the past hour.
That's true. It's actually a good transition too.
Because we're on New Japan. Go ahead.
I do have breaking news as well, but we'll get to that after New Japan.
Thank you for the sound effect, Bill.
You're welcome. That's what I'm paid for, folks, is to make sound effects.
Apparently. So yeah, the New Japan right now, Japan is not doing that great right now in terms of COVID. They're under very severe restrictions right now because their vaccination rollout has been so slow, and there's a variety of reasons for it. but it is ticking upwards now. It took them a long time to get it in. I think at one point there was only 2 clinics in the entire country vaccinating people, which is ridiculous. So, but now that they are, I think it's because they had such strict requirements on who can actually give out the shot. Like it had to be a doctor or something like that. And now I think they've opened it up to other people. They just teach you how to do the shot, and then you do it. I mean, it's not that hard. You stick it in the muscle of the arm, and you inject. But as long as you don't mess around and hurt the other person. But I mean, with here it was easy. Like we just had nurses and retired nurses do it, and doctors, and we have lots of those, so we did it. And when I walked into the site, the Moncton Coliseum, which is one of our arenas here, they had 50 seats open, and nurses at each one, and they were handling it. But anyways, the New Japan shows still have the same restrictions. Masks are mandatory. You cannot cheer. You can only stomp or clap. And as far as I know, there have been no COVID outbreaks at any of the wrestling shows.
That's good.
That's it, yeah.
A few of the wrestlers have gotten COVID, and New Japan will pull them from shows immediately and pull anyone who was around them from the show, including Okada. Okada got COVID.
Really? Oh.
Mm-hmm.
He did. And he came back a week after being cleared from it and wrestled like a 45-minute match. And afterward, he looked fine. He looked like he was apparently exhausted. It was very hard for him, but he was fine. Like, because that's Okada. He's a freak athlete.
Mm-hmm.
And he had a very mild case of it, but it still affected his breathing. But New Japan has been handling it very well. Like, they pulled their top guys from shows. They've canceled shows. Stardom and other Japanese companies have canceled shows. They pull people when they get COVID. So as far as the wrestling promotion's handling it and still running, they're probably still doing it better than everyone else, except for maybe Ring of Honor, which we'll get to.
Mm-hmm.
But they are running a show, New Japan Resurgence, which I think is next weekend, from Los Angeles. And the show is completely sold out, but masks are mandatory, just like in Japan. I think they will allow cheering at these shows. But remember, this is a Japanese company. Even though it's running an American show, even though the offices for New Japan USA are American-based, it is still a Japanese company. So the people going to that show, even in full capacity, you do not mess around with that mask mandate. If you don't want to wear a mask, you're getting kicked out.
Yeah.
And they're not going to mess around with you. They're going, and if you don't follow the protocols that they put in place, they're kicking you out. And it's almost refreshing to see how strict they are being with it. And that show is probably going to be awesome. But it's just really nice to see a promotion try to take care of its wrestlers and try to protect their fans. And put that as the most important thing. Ring of Honor has done that as well.
Can I say something real quick? With the LA show, I believe that's the first New Japan US show that's going to have an audience there since the pandemic, if I'm not mistaken.
This is the first New Japan USA show with an audience, period. I think. Since New Japan Strong started.
Oh wow! Okay.
New Japan Strong, their weekly American TV show, started in the pandemic, and they have not had fans at all. And so the next set of tapings has fans. They've announced a few shows in different cities on tour that will have fans, and this show will have fans. And it has brought in a few people from Japan who will and when they go back to Japan, they will self-isolate for the 14 days, even if they're fully vaccinated. Because that's the Japanese policy. But we're getting Hiroshi Tanahashi on this show. We're getting Tomohiro Ishii on this show. We're getting Jay White on this show. Jon Moxley. That's a big-time New Japan card.
Yeah, I just looked at the card. That looks like a pretty good show.
It's going to be awesome. It's going to be really, really, really good. And it's stacked with a good mix of the New Japan USA talent and the talent from Japan itself. I mean, you bring in Hiroshi Tanahashi, and that's all you really need to do because he's Tanahashi.
Yeah.
I mean, he's one of the best wrestlers ever. And,
so where do people watch this?
New Japan World, NJPWWorld.com. And it'll be there for free, or you can buy it on pay-per-view on Fight as well. I recommend the New Japan World subscription. It's like 999 yen. It's like $8 American a month, 12 Canadian. And I have never lapsed my subscription.
New Japan can't be a prescription.
I'm sorry, did a doctor say that you needed that, Josiah?
Well, you see, the best cure for WWE blues is a prescription of New Japan World.
Dr. Okada will see you now.
Yes. And New Japan shows have been kind of, and the Japanese ones have been lacking something because the fans can't really react like they normally would. But the wrestling has still been very good on their shows, even with a decimated roster if part of them are out for COVID or something like that. They're still been very consistent and drawing relatively well, all things considering. And I think when they emerge from this pandemic, New Japan is going to go on a tear because they have so much momentum from their guys appearing on AEW now, and
even on Impact.
Even on Impact, yeah, and they're working.
I did hear about that. That's right. Someone did show up. I haven't been watching. The only thing I've been watching is AEW. So I, the loop. Jay White, I believe, was in.
Yes,
and he confronted Kenny Omega. So it's the leader of the Bullet Club confronting the former leader.
Yeah.
And there's also intrigue because, sorry, we're just going to the storyline stuff, but it's good. Before Kenny Omega left New Japan, when Jay White debuted. Kenny Omega offered him a spot in Bullet Club, and Jay White refused. He did not want to work with Kenny Omega. And instead, he joined Chaos and promised Okada someday he was going to take his title from him. And eventually, he turned on Okada, and after Kenny was gone, he took over Bullet Club, doing exactly what he promised to do. So they clearly had it in mind that he was going to do this from back then and possibly out Kenny, too. So he'd be outing Kenny and turning on Okada at the same time, but Kenny left the promotion. So, but it's some really good, intriguing storytelling. And if they book Jay White versus Kenny Omega on an Impact pay-per-view, I am buying that pay-per-view. That would be fun. But that said, New Japan has a lot of good things going, and they are handling this pandemic very well. And I'm very pleased that they're instituting a mask mandate for the American shows as well.
And then you want to move on to Ring of Honor for a little bit here, even though I don't usually really care about them anymore. But go ahead. How are they handling things?
Well, it was just announced by Dave Meltzer on Twitter that their show Death Before Dishonor, which was a pay-per-view that would have been coming up in October, I think, they have moved it out of Florida due to COVID concerns.
Okay.
And
good for them. Okay, good.
They also require vaccination proof, I believe, and they're still doing the bubbles on their TV tapings. Like if you come in as a wrestler, you need to self-isolate for 14 days going in, and self-isolate for 14 days leaving.
Even no fans for those? Like there's no
fans.
I think some of the TV tapings have some fans now, but their TV right now, whenever they tape it, does not. Their pay-per-views will have fans though. Okay. But you have to pass like strict screening to get in, and they're still really taking care of the talent and really, really making sure their fans are safe. I can't remember what the name of the pay-per-view was. It was a few weeks ago though. But
Best in the World.
That's it. It was a really good show. I quietly, and I think we said this before, Ring of Honor has been outstanding lately, and that is continued.
I definitely didn't say that. I mean, I haven't watched either, so that's fair.
Yeah, I think it was.
I'm still mad at them for not picking a side in that fan versus Bully Ray incident, and I refuse to watch them until something's said with that.
That is true. That is true.
At least WWE, like, as all shitty things they do, they choose a side, even if it's the wrong one. Ring of Honor doesn't have the balls to choose a side with that one, or didn't have the balls to choose a side for that one.
That is true. Although when the Marty Scurll stuff came out, they did choose the right side on that. Thank God.
Yeah.
But they. Yeah.
Anyway, look, this isn't about our thoughts on what companies did wrong and what things right. Let's move on a little bit to, because I want to hit all these promotions before the end of this episode. I know another promotion I don't really care about at all, but Josiah I know likes. I don't know how Bill stands with them, but the NWA, what are they doing now? Are they taking precautions? What's going on with them?
They do have fans in attendance for their TV show now. And from what I understand, it's not masked, but I think the fans are vaccinated or to provide a COVID test. I don't really know exactly. Actually, I can ask around. I'll ask someone there
for our next COVID episode, because unfortunately, it looks like we're probably going to do at least 2 or 3 of these.
Yeah, it certainly feels like
things going. Probably another 2 weeks, maybe something like that. More things will happen in another 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Okay, so NWA's out. Impact. What's going on with them? If anything, with COVID.
I haven't really.
Are they still taping in Nashville? Is that what aren't they doing?
Yeah, they're still taping in Nashville.
I mean, do they have fans?
Yeah. Yes. But it's very limited in attendance, and I think they screened. The pay-per-view, one of their most recent pay-per-views had fans, and I do believe they screened. But I'm not sure on that one. I can look into that too as well.
Sure. Okay. Again, like I said, we're gonna be following up with all these places anyway, or at least some of them. Okay. So now we get to the big 2. Which do you want to start with first? I don't really care either way.
Well, how about we start with the one that sucks the most first?
Yeah.
Right, we'll go WWE.
We'll end on a happy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's face it. Are we looking at WWE Thunderdome again?
There's a possibility.
I mean, I would just prefer them with no fans, if I'm honest.
There was talk last week that they are getting ready in case they have to move SummerSlam from Las Vegas and have it back in the Thunderdome. They're planning possible SummerSlam to Thunderdome, not to another venue? Nope.
No. There's no plans to cancel it right now. They're still very much so full speed ahead, but they're making contingency plans just in case.
I'm going to say this real quick because this is kind of going to touch on both of them. If I were them, I would make a tentative plan right now between whatever shows they have booked now to December to only go to blue states. That's what I would do for them.
Really, yeah, that's not a bad idea. But unfortunately, the only states that seem to have most of the restrictions lifted so they can actually tour are red states.
That's probably true.
Truthfully,
yeah.
Oh, sorry, you were saying something, Bill.
No. I'll go you first. Truthfully, go ahead.
Oh, I was actually saying. I thought Bill was saying something about the about SummerSlam.
Oh, sorry, Bill. Were you saying something about SummerSlam and their shitty card, which I don't even know what it is, but I'm pretty sure it's shit.
No, I was looking for where like Las Vegas is, like which county it's in.
Also, remind me, is Nevada a red or I guess it's red? It's a red state.
I guess. Let's see, what county is Las Vegas in? Oh.
Well, you got to think Las Vegas is probably a lot like Orlando, Florida. It probably was one of those places that's a big tourist destination once people are like, hey, I have the vaccine, so I'm told that I don't have to wear a mask and go anywhere.
All right. So this is
and I'm not mocking that because I was that guy in a way. So
no, I know.
I'm saying for people out there, don't come at me. I was that guy. I mean,
right. Okay, so the county they're in, Clark County, is the one with the most cases right now in Nevada.
Okay.
they have almost 285,000 cases.
Okay.
With a population of over 2 million.
Mm-hmm.
So, now they are one of the hot spots right now for Nevada. Let me see, how many cases would they have?
When is SummerSlam anyway?
Next Saturday.
Oh, so I think they'll make it then. If you would have told me 2 or 3 weeks, then I'd say, they really need to. I think they'll be okay for next week.
Right. Yeah, let's get in the.
Dare I even? I know Goldberg's wrestling. That's about all I know because it's disgusting. But dare I ask what the other ones are?
Goldberg's wrestling Lashley, and I got an email from my editor at the Wrestling Observer about something with NWA Power, but
his name is Maeve Belzer.
No. I got an email from Josh Nason.
I was just joking with you.
Of course. Maeve Delzer. He's the guy who does the.
I mean, I've been having fun doing Kingdom Hearts and video game stuff. I haven't done a wrestling show in a while, so yeah, let's get me mad. Go ahead. What are the matches?
So more than likely, the main event of SummerSlam, Roman Reigns defending the Universal title against John Cena.
Ugh. By the way, did I mention that Elmo Gets a Puppy was better than the Suicide Squad?
Elmo Gets a Puppy?
Yeah, HBO Max original.
Oh, Lord.
It was better than the Suicide Squad, and I know I'm in the minority, but I
still have to watch Jellystone.
I'm on the fence with Jellystone. Like, I want to kind of like it, but I don't know if I like the animation style that they used.
Okay, that's fair.
All right, so anyway,
all right.
John Chinesa, which is my name for him now.
Oh, jeez. Triple threat match, Raw Women's title, Nikki, almost a superhero, or Nikki ASH, defends against Rhea Ripley and Charlotte Flair.
I thought he said ASS for a second. Nikki S.
No, it's
well, I am 100% sure that's why Vince came up with the name.
Like Josiah mentioned, Lashley defending the WWE title against Goldberg.
Mm-hmm.
Usos defending the SmackDown tag titles against Rey and Dominic Mysterio. Bianca Belair defending the SmackDown women's title against Sasha Banks. And Edge against Seth Rollins.
Wait, didn't Bianca Belair fight Sasha Banks at WrestleMania?
WrestleMania, yeah. This is Sasha's rematch.
3 months later? Or four? Then again, maybe I don't remember where WrestleMania is. Okay, whatever.
Yeah, about
to be honest, I actually thought there was going to be 1 or 2 more part-timers on there. Although I am surprised Jimmy Uso apparently is still wrestling.
I don't even want to talk about that.
That's beyond frustrating.
Can I make it very clear, though? It's not because I want him to get help, because I actually don't give a fuck about Jimmy Uso as a person. Because why should I? I don't know the man, and where was he when I had COVID? You know why? Because he doesn't know me. But the point is you would think for getting a DUI, you would get some kind of repercussions. That's my point. That's why I'm mad. Not that I don't care if he gets help or not, really.
I mean, Jeff Hardy had issues before and they sent him to rehab, so why aren't they sending him to rehab?
Right. Something should be happening. Okay, so now I also heard, and tell me if this is true, is this like an early show? SummerSlam, time-wise?
It might be early on the West Coast.
Oh.
Right.
I think it'll be starting the same time as usual.
Yeah, 8 o'clock here.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So Peacock, you better get your shit together. Unlike last month.
Oh, why was Peacock giving you troubles? I mean, it's not like the WWE Network was flawed.
Yeah, but that's the first time I've had trouble with streaming a pay-per-view, even from WWE Network. Mm-hmm. And it was the shit.
All right.
It was a disaster, the last pay-per-view for them.
Yeah.
Whereas in Canada, we still have the WWE Network.
Shut up.
but to be fair, I'm not a subscriber though. So
there you go. Okay, that's fair.
So round it up, WWE here. Thunderdome, I think they're going to make SummerSlam now that you told me it was next weekend. If you told me it was in like 2 or 3 weeks, I would have been like, nah, that might be iffy. Because a lot has to happen for it to. I think a lot has to happen at this point for it to be not happening in such a short amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty much 100% convinced it's going to go forward as planned.
Yeah.
Now, what's going to happen for the rest? Who knows? Whenever their next pay-per-view is or whatever, that might be a problem depending where they decide that it's going to be. Do we know? Do you know the next pay-per-view?
I thought it was in Ohio, but I can look.
That sounds right.
I'm going to say back in Florida because it's the only place they can trust.
Oh gosh. Vince will just buy out. Vince will just pay off.
That's the new. Josiah, you don't say that. That's the new tour for them. And honestly, maybe for AEW is Texas and Florida. That's it. All day, every day. Texas, Florida.
Yeah.
Okay, so next pay-per-view is September 26th, Columbus, Ohio.
Okay.
And then
the same place they killed WCW for a final time.
And then just want to throw this out there.
I don't know.
I think you're right. I think you're right.
I just want to throw this out here.
Yeah.
There's a possibility they could be going back to Saudi Arabia in October.
Sure. How's Saudi Arabia with the COVID? Now that I'm thinking about it. I haven't
heard, to be honest.
Well, dictatorships are not known for their openness.
Yeah, that's very true.
True. All right, so basically, the two things I know, even though I'm not really watching WWE, still the same things I know is number one, they are still relying on part-timers, and number two, I always feel like Alexa Bliss is the worst part of the show. I feel like I read fans say all the time, like, the Alexa Bliss segment was the worst thing of all wrestling, and it feels like it's every week it says that. Oh, I do know though, thanks to one of you guys, I don't remember which one of it was, that she did get chance of We Want Wyatt on Raw.
Yeah, that was me.
Yeah, it made me smile.
Last night was loud.
I think she should get that for the rest of her life. Anyway.
Okay, Saudi Arabia numbers real quick. 535,000 total cases.
Okay. Did they say any deaths?
Only 8,000.
Okay.
And apparently 515,000 have recovered.
Ooh, although they have a recovery statistic. Interesting. I don't feel like we have a recovery statistic.
We have that in Canada. We have our recovery statistics.
Do we have a recovery statistic, Bill?
No, we don't.
I don't think we do. No, we're too ashamed of people that recovered.
Yeah, we have on ours. We can always check number of deaths, number of recoveries, all that kind of stuff.
All right. Okay, so then we move to AEW, which, I mean, AEW doesn't have a Thunderdome, but they do have a Daly's Place. Are we looking to head back to Daly's Place? Homecoming, maybe more of a I'm always homecoming.
They are, I believe in their exact words, we're keeping an eye on things very closely, especially with the situation in New York as well.
See, that's the one I'm not. I'm sorry, go ahead, sorry.
The Arthur Ashe Stadium show.
Yeah.
But I'm not actually worried about that if it just goes to vaccinated only. I don't think that'll be a big problem. Quite frankly, I will give my opinion on what every company should be doing if they're going to run in the United States right now, because it's going to be, I don't think you're heading back towards lockdown, because
I don't either, no.
Unfortunately, in some ways. I think there might be restrictions, though, but I do think the wrestling promotion should be proactive and make masks mandatory.
Yes.
And that's it's not really that hard.
Actually, no. I'm sorry. I actually didn't mean to say yes to that. I disagree with it, but I'll get to the second. Go ahead. Sorry.
I just think if you make mask mandatory for your events, that would solve the problems for the most part. I mean, some people are going to want to demand a refund or whatever. Okay, fine, give them a refund, and just run a show, mask mandatory. Do what Japan does for their shows.
The only reason I said no is because I think it should just be, you need a vaccine. End of story. And you can't get let in without it. And if you get in, you're let in, then you're good to go. That's my theory on that. Because I already pulled that sign because I was like, I have to wear a mask the whole time. Please give me a refund. It's a very big, at least for me, a big turnoff, especially for that long of a period. Because average wrestling show is about 3 hours.
For the big ones, yes. For
I
TV
mean,
tapings.
I feel like TV tapings after you do your I'm sure Dark for AEW was taped too on the same day. That's probably
Yes.
equaling up to 3 hours after you get through with it.
Yeah, they're about.
So that's I don't know. Like I said, and I definitely think people should be offered a refund. There should be no questions asked either.
Yeah.
I do agree with that.
If it's like I said, if it's a mask thing, especially if you ordered it like Arthur Ashe went on sale a month ago. We weren't talking about all this a month ago, for the most part.
No.
Arthur Ashe, I think, is good. I think WWE's running Madison Square Garden. We already know that that's good because again, the Garden's going to require a vaccine. I do think that's how, and I'm really hopeful about De Blasio's. Yeah, you can come in and just have your vaccination card, and that's how you get into bars and restaurants. I'm really hopeful on that one.
I think that's great. I think that is fantastic. I really hope that alone makes me very hopeful for a bit of normalcy.
Yeah.
And we're debating making the vaccine mandatory in Canada right now. Mandatory for those who can get it, that is.
Right.
And we're also debating things like vaccine passports, and that's probably going to come down to the provincial governments deciding for each province. And I find the people who are against them are a very loud minority.
Yes.
And they'll argue till you're blue in the face on social media, and most people will just go, look, I have a picture on my phone of my vaccine record, because ours is actually a sheet of paper. And I'll just show it to you, and that will get me into places or whatever. Or develop an app that does it or something like that. I don't know. But I don't.
Have a passport. I mean, you could do something like that and give someone a physical copy, because I think people that are older than say 60 years old probably aren't going to know what to do with a phone.
Yes, that's true. Well, we still have that. I have my physical copy. It's actually sitting next to me right now.
Yeah, mine's in my wallet for in case anytime I have to take it out if someone asks me.
Yeah,
as it should be.
Although, mine, like I said, is a full sheet of paper, so I'm not really carrying it around.
Oh, okay.
But I could if I needed to. I have no intention. And if I lose it by any chance, and by the way, these are going to be very difficult to fake in Canada because they're linked to your health card number. So if they do mandate passports, they'll probably link it to your health card number to verify that you're actually vaccinated here in Canada. So, and our health card number is what gets us our health care for free.
Right. Yeah. No, you don't have to throw it in our face.
Sorry. Even though technically my card is expired right now because a mistake happened in administration, and I didn't get my new one in the mail, but they still gave me my vaccine. They said they don't care that it was expired or not. So
I was thinking when you said that, I was like, oh, I hope Josiah doesn't drop to the ground now.
Oh no, I could still go to the hospital and they would still treat me, and I might get a bill in the mail later. And then I could probably bring it to the government building and say, hey, I had this bill in the mail. And they'll say, okay, we'll take care of that. More than likely.
I mean, I've been fighting for 4 months for apparently $200, so that's fun.
I do have one that I need to – I'm going to be going down to the government building soon. When I concussed myself last year by falling down the stairs, I don't know if I told you guys that story.
She's a big Foley falling down the stairs when he got kicked by Randy Orton.
Anyways, I did get a hospital bill in the mail for that one, and they sent it a few more times to remind me, and then they stopped sending it. So I don't know if they just forget it, or if I still have to pay it.
Be careful. You probably still have to pay it. One day you're gonna. I'm not kidding you. They're going to send you a collection thing and say, "Hey,
no,
we still owe you this." I had that happen to me, and mine was 4 months, I think, or 5 months.
Yeah, this one won't go to collections. They don't do that. With it, not with medical bills like that here, but I will go down to my government place and talk to them about it and say, well, do I need to pay it right now or whatever? Anyways,
my favorite was when I got a bill in September of 2020 for, I think something in February of 2019. That was my favorite. Because then they were like, well, what did you have done? I'm like, I don't remember. I'm like trying to figure out like what I did, and I'm like going through possibilities. I'm like, well, I mean, I was like, don't you have? Isn't it written what you have? What was done there? And like, no, it's just the code. I'm like, doesn't the code tell you something? He's like, oh, no, are you sure you don't remember? I'm like, I don't know. Why don't we say that? And I not made something up. I said something that happened to me. Because I'm like, maybe it's this. And and they still got a bill after all that nonsense.
So, while you guys were talking, I was looking at both AEW schedule and WWE schedule and where they're going. And AEW seems to be more one side of the country, like more East Coast, little towards the Central, whereas the WWE is like going all over the place in the next month.
That's not shocking. I would expect the venue people for AEW looked at which places have the least COVID. Let's book there.
Because like this week they're in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Right.
Next week, show in Houston, and then the big Rampage show at the United Center in Chicago.
The debut of CM Punk.
Right.
More than likely. Then they have a show in Milwaukee, and then they have 3 shows in Chicago, including All Out. Then they have Cincinnati, Newark, and then the big show in Queens at Arthur Ashe Stadium. Then Rochester, New York, Philly, and Boston, all the way up till about the end of October. And then in November, they have a show in St. Louis. So that's really AEW. With WWE, Friday, Oklahoma, Saturday, North Carolina, Sunday, South Carolina, Monday, Texas, next Friday, Arizona, then SummerSlam in Las Vegas, the following Sunday in Denver, the following Monday, San Diego, then Arkansas, Oklahoma. Then they're in Florida for a little bit, and then the Garden Show, and then they're in D.C., then they go to Albany, and then like in the middle of September, they're going to England, or SmackDown is going to England for a few shows.
We'll see if they can make that. I mean, Who knows what's going to happen? I almost wish we had a representative from the UK on here for this series, but unfortunately, I don't know anyone right now from the UK.
And they're all asleep by this point.
That's true too. Yeah, you're right. They're all asleep at this point. It's the middle of the night for them. All right, I guess let's say our goodbyes, and then we'll head out of here. Thank you for joining us. Josiah, why don't you say your goodbyes first, and any plugs that you want to throw out there?
Sure. So it's been good catching up with you guys, despite the grim topic of COVID. I always enjoy talking with you guys, whether it's on this podcast or in messages on Twitter or Facebook or whatever. So thank you for having me back, and you can read anything I write at wrestlingobserver.com/f4wonline.com, where I cover all things NWA, and dailyddt.com, where I write about, well, anything wrestling, but specifically AEW Dynamite is what I recap. Although my recap for NWA Power will not be up tonight, because the show, so this is what the NWA did. I'm going to tell you guys this now, saving it here because it's hilarious. They advertised an episode of Power for tonight. It's usually at 6:05 Eastern, because the classic NWA time.
Yes.
And on Tuesdays, every Tuesday. And I go to the website to start my recap, and it says available in 24 hours. And I go, that's weird. And so I go to NWA's Twitter and check if they actually advertised it for tonight or tomorrow. They advertised it for tonight. Someone somewhere uploaded it with the wrong date.
Oh no!
And I don't know what it is. It's on Fight's end or NWA's end. I have no idea. But even more hilarious is that at 8 o'clock or 8:05, the post show for the NWA started and aired.
Okay.
It aired for a show that did not air.
That's weird. Okay.
Because the post show was pre-taped as well.
Right.
And
but they
so,
put the right time.
they put the right time for the post show, and so the post show goes up, and they're talking about a show no one has seen.
Why don't you recap that then?
I could, but I'm gonna end up recapping Power. I never watched the post show. I'll end up recapping Power tomorrow before AEW Dynamite, if it's up, and then I will be recapping Dynamite for Daily DDT as well. So, and you can follow me on WR_Central on Twitter for all that stuff, where I also tweet about wrestling and how people are really stupid to not get vaccines.
Okay. And I know one thing Josiah won't be doing is playing Tales of Berseria. No, that's not happening.
I am sorry.
All right, Bill, why don't you give your plugs? It's a little shot to Josiah that no one else is going to get.
No.
All right.
Bill, go ahead. What are you doing these days? I know. Hey, South Park was renewed. I know you do your South Park podcast. You'll be doing that for another 10 years.
Yeah, I know, right? You can follow me on Twitter at House of Bill. Follow me on Instagram at MrBilliam85, and check out my little wrestling podcast called That Wrestling Show. I took this past week off because I was so freaking busy and tired that I was like, you know what? I could skip a week.
Tired in general, or just tired of wrestling?
Tired in general. I wish I could say tired of wrestling, but AEW kind of balances it out.
True.
So
AEW is really good.
It is. It's all following on all cylinders. Oh, except for I don't like Black, but whatever. Malachi or whatever the fuck his name is, Black. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead, Bill. Shark Spawn or the South Park podcast.
Yeah, that's going on. This week should be the season 12 finale going up. So be starting season 13 real soon. So I'm getting closer.
But yet further away when they add 6 more seasons.
Right. And all the movies they're going to come out with.
It's a ridiculous amount too, right? It's like
14
movies. For Paramount Plus, which is probably the most significant thing other than iCarly that Paramount Plus is going to have on it.
What is this one again? Sorry?
South Park.
Oh, South Park. Okay, yes.
Yeah. And then, of course, for me, that's podcasting.com. Of course, me and Bill do Bill Learns Kingdom Hearts. All of season 1 can be found on Spotify. And probably next week or the week after, we'll be ready to announce when season 2 is going to start airing. As we take a look at Chain of Memories. That was originally released on the Game Boy Advanced. So take a look at that. That's podcasting on Instagram and Twitter. And that's pretty much it for me. I'm just adding that's what I call podcasting archives, and basically that's it. Bill, why don't you head us out of here?
All right. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to another episode of Wrestling with COVID. We will talk to you all again whenever, maybe next month, maybe not. We'll have to wait and see. Hope you all have a wonderful day.
Adios.